with our classes. Actually, I'm talking about environmental ethics references from English literature. I already mentioned that in 18th and 19th centuries, environmental revolution started in Europe, and nature was destroyed for the industrial purposes. Especially in London, big factories were built. Bigger the better. That was the billboards on the highways. Bigger the better. In other words, big houses, big refrigerators, big cars, big families, big economic growth, big consumption. Everything was big, bigger the better. So that was the slogan on the billboards on the national highways in London. The factories, they emitted pollution because enormous amount of coal was burned, fossil fuel was burned. So the effluents from the factories, they filled the sky, they filled the land, they filled water bodies, they filled nature. You know one famous poem called William Wordsworth poem, The Daffodils. You must have studied it in the college, The Daffodils. So that was the time they were not looking like daffodils. Daffodils look yellow in color, beautiful, bright yellow. That is the color of daffodils. But they were looking black because of the effluents from the industries. Leaves were not looking green anymore. In London, they were looking black. So when the poets like William Wordsworth, Lord Byron, all these people, when they looked at nature, they really asked the question, is it right? Is it ethically right to emit effluents and fill nature with the black pollution? Is it ethically right? That was the question they were asking through poetry, through their writings. So all those poems written in that time period, we should consider them as environmental ethics writings. But they are in poetry form, very hard to understand. But some of the poems you can understand, like this one written by Lord Byron. He writes beautifully, there is pleasure in the pathless woods. There is rapture in the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes by the deep sea, and music in its roar. I love not man the less, but nature more. Wow. Lord Byron looks nature as a society, not only made up of humans. He sees a society made up of animals and plants, and also a biotic world and parts. That's why he wrote, there is society where none intrudes. Because in human society, this kind of pollution, greenhouse gases, noise pollution, mental pollution, all this evil enters. But in nature, it is pure, pristine, In other words, there is no human to pollute. That is a perfect society. But at the same time, Lord Byron states that I love humans. See there, the last word, I love not man the less, but nature more. Doesn't mean that hate humans, but I tend to love nature more. Again, we are coming back to Pope Francis's teaching in Laudato Si. We need to respect all the three relationships at all times in order to make a perfect living. That is relationship with God, relationship with the humans, and relationship with the whole of creation. Byron likewise gave expression to this sentiment, that is the Industrial Revolution. They had in their mind all the time, why Industrial Revolution? It is not a progress. Actually, it is a regress. It is a kind of destruction, the period of destruction. So in his poem, Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, he writes as follows: I live not in myself, but I become portion of that around me. And to me, high mountains are a feeling. But the hum of human cities torture. Yeah. High mountains are a feeling. My house is at the foot of Eastern Ghats, a big mountain on my right. Probably, if there is time, I will have some classes outside. You can see the beauty, a backdrop of a huge mountain where I live. Wherever I go, I want to come back and see my mountain. I always tell, mountains are calling, I must go home. When I go to America, after 1 week I feel homesick. Not to look at my father, mother, brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts, but I feel homesick about my mountain, about my birds around me, the wildlife around my house, the vegetation, the plants, the smell, the color, the noise. I miss them. That is the separation I can't endure when I go to America. Separating from my own environment, I can't bear that. Actually, in the Bible, there is one reference. We read, how can we sing the Lord's song in the foreign land? You must have heard about that famous song, By the Rivers of Babylon, There We Sat Down, by Boney M. Famous song. So in that psalm, we read, how can we sing the Lord's song in the foreign land? You know, Jews were taken into captivity around 500 to 600 BCE to Babylon. And they are good musicians. Jews play beautifully well. They play violins, tambourines, and they sing and dance very well. So it happened, the king of Babylon asked them one day, you are good dancers, singers. You play instruments so well, but now what happened? All the instruments you have hung up on the walls. And you don't play anymore. You don't sing anymore. You don't dance anymore. What's going on? Then they replied to the king, Your Majesty, we are separated from our own environment. Our environment is Jerusalem, our mountains. We can't see our mountains. We can't see our Jordan River. We can't see Jerusalem temple. We can't see the wildlife, the plants, the smell, the sound. then how can we sing the Lord's song in the foreign land? Wow! What a great incident, no? I love that incident. So that is the thing what I feel. Even if I had come to Kavarapettai to take classes for you, within 3 days, I feel homesick. I feel really homesick. So I keep on telling, I must go home. Mountains are calling, I must go home. That is how I feel when I get older. I feel like saying, soil is calling, I must go home. Because we came from soil, that is our home. As we age, we keep on telling, soil is calling, I must go home. So that is what Lord Byron writes. For me, high mountains are a feeling. So we are the people of our own environment. Each creature is the reflection of its own environment. You think about your own village. You are there sitting as I talk. Your mind is not here. You are not concentrating on my talk. You are thinking about your own village, your own mountains, your own wildlife, your own smells, your own colors, your own feeling. Am I right? Of course I am right. Yeah. So I think Lord Byron really invokes you. He really incites you, instigate your nostalgic feeling about your environment, about your own village, about your own town, about your mountains, your land and your forest. We can't be separated from the environment. When you feel like going home, when you examine that feeling, it is not that you are missing your father and mother, brothers and sisters, etc., etc. Actually, you are missing your own environment. That is the truth. That is the truth. So far we have been discussing about romanticism, that is, which started in 16th and 17th centuries. But now we have come to another period known as transcendentalism, which started in the middle of the 19th century, exactly the period when Industrial Revolution started. Transcendentalism. We know there are two words, transcendental God and immanent God. You know, transcendental God means a God who created the universe and He is somewhere in the clouds. We call it heaven. So He is the transcendental God. That's what we have been worshipping for the past 4 million years. We are worried about only transcendental God. All our parish life, sacraments, our study in theology, philosophy, everything is about that transcendental God. One who is somewhere. One who is somewhere. But we have forgotten, only this is 50% is true about transcendental God. Another 50% we are not teaching. That is known as the immanent God. The God of immanence. God in creation. Transcendental God is the God of creation. The immanent God is the God in creation. In John chapter 1 verse 14 puts it so beautifully. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That is the immanent God. So opposite to transcendentalism is immanence. Actually, Pope Francis in Laudato Si, every page he is writing, we need to educate our people on the God of immanence, one who is in front of me, at the back of me, on my left, on my right, above and down. God, I am surrounded by God. So we have been teaching God is only in the temple and churches, so on and so forth. But immanent God is everywhere. There is no name. Religion, all religions cease to exist when you find immanent God. Only in transcendental God we can't see Him. That's why so many religions came into existence. It's a philosophical God. Transcendental God is a philosophical God. The immanent God is in your heart, among us. In other words, Jesus Christ, that's what the immanent God is all about. That's what St. John is writing in the first chapter of John. The Logos, the Word. In the beginning there was Word. That is transcendental, very transcendent. And the Word became flesh. He became immanent and dwelt among us. Our eyes have seen Him. So that is what he writes. Oh my God, I have entered into theology now. No, I have to come back to environmental ethics. Again, I'm making a mistake of leaning towards theology. My subject is not theology. Mine is ecology, geology, paleontology, and environmental ethics, agrarian theology. So I have to always bring my mind back. Otherwise, I will drift into somewhere. Anyway, transcendentalism, I want to explain to you that what it means is we reach God through nature. By finding immanent God in nature, we reach to the transcendental God. You understand now? By finding God in creation, front, back, left, right, above and down, also inside you, we reach to the transcendental God. So both of them like two sides of the same coin. Transcendental God is also right. At the same time, immanent God is also right. But now we are biased, emphasizing only about transcendental God. 2000 years of Christianity was focusing on only transcendental God. We completely rejected. Not rejected, we did not understand so far. Only Laudato Si is trying to explain. I think our future mission is going to be the education on the God of immanence. Another 500 years, we are going to talk about it. So you get ready. So in that sense, transcendentalism is good for you. So it's in ecotheology, we need to really find the God of immanence. So that is the first premise of ecotheology. So we can apply the same premise also to environmental ethics. So actually transcendentalism was influenced by romanticism of the 16th and 17th century. And actually transcendentalism is a kind of individualism. Individually you can find God. Jesus also puts it nicely. Go to your room and close your windows and close your doors, and individually you find God who is within you. Who is within that immanent God. The opposite is where there are 2 or 3 people are gathered in my name, I am there. That's a community, the communitarian God. So I think the transcendentalism is excellent. Individually you can find God. Transcendentalism expressed semi-religious feelings towards nature, as well as the creative process, and saw a direct connection or correspondence between the universe, that is called macrocosm, and the individual soul, microcosm. You know, Brahman and Atman in Indology, the Indian philosophy, Brahman is the macrocosm. He is the God. Atman is the microcosm. That is soul or individual. But they are not different. Both are same. Brahman is in the Atman, Atman is in the Brahman. It's very simple. So in this regard, I would like to bring a famous Shiva saint, Tirumular, one who wrote Tirumandiram, a famous treatise, Tirumandiram. So Tirumular he wrote a sutra called Andam and Pindam. Andam means macrocosm, universe. Pindam means soul or individual. He wrote, Andathil illadadu Pindathil illai, Pindathil illadadu Andathil illai. Same thing, transcendentalism, the poets were writing in the 19th century, but Tirumular wrote 2000 years ago. Tirumular was the contemporary of Jesus Christ and Thiruvalluvar, etc., etc. Andathil illadadu Pindathil illai. Pindathil illadadu Andathil illai. In other words, we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. In other words, you are the earth. You are the earth. Earth is not out there. That is big earth, macrocosm. But you are a small earth, microcosm. You know, earth contains 75% water, 21% land and atmosphere, etc., etc. The same way, your body, our body, ant body, mosquito body, microscopic bacteria body, all the creatures' body contain same ratio, 75% water, 25% carbon, and the fire and ether and air, the Panjabhutas I'm talking about. So, exactly the same, you are the reflection of the Mother Earth, 75, 21, etc., etc. Andathil illadadu Pindathil illai, Pindathil illadadu Andathil illai. You know, in the ocean, the 75% of the water contains 3.5% salt. If you examine the sea water, 3.5% salt. And you examine the water content in your body, the doctor will tell you 3.5% salt. Every organism contains the same ratio. Andathil illadadu Pindathil illai, Pindathil illadadu Andathil illai. Look at your bodies. You must have observed your bodies in the bathroom or in the room alone where there is no clothes, naked. When you look at your body, it looks like planet Earth. It symbolizes Earth itself, ups and downs. Look at your back, especially observe it. When you look at your back, it looks like Palai Nilam, desert ecosystem at the back. Nothing is there. It's like Sahara Desert. Even the bones you see like a sand dunes. They shift and change. And you come little down there, you find little mountains there at your back. Little mountains. And under the mountain you see rivers. Your legs look like rivers. And you come little above in front, you will find caves. And you find small forest. And you come little higher, for some people you get a mountain ranges, stomach, big stomach, like Himalayan mountain range or Alpine mountain range. or Andean mountain range. You come little higher, you get some little pockets of air here, bushy forest, thorny bushes, and you come here little tundra forest, and you come here tropical rainforest, right here. So this is how we look. We look exactly like Mother Earth, ups and downs, mountains, rivers, canyons, caves, tropical rainfall, everything is in your body. அண்டத்தில் இல்லாதது பிண்டத்தில் இல்லை, பிண்டத்தில் இல்லாதது அண்டத்தில் இல்லை. So you are the microcosm. You are the earth. Don't look earth outside of you. It is within you. It is immanent. Maybe the macrocosm is transcendental outside of you. But everything is within you. And also you are an ecosystem. That is the beauty. 2000 years ago, Jesus taught the parable of the sower. 4 kinds of lands. The seed falls into the thorny, dry and good land. And the disciples did not understand what Jesus was talking about. They asked night times, Jesus, we didn't understand, please explain. Then he explains, and he says that the seed is sown in the heart of your body, in the microcosm. The seed is thrown there. It is not on the macrocosm land. It is not thrown out there. It is thrown in the heart of every human person. And it produces 60, 80, 100% if you receive that seed with the balanced way. 2000 years, not 2000 years, 2500 or 300 years ago, Tulkapier, that is the famous grammar author in Tamil literature. He wrote Tulkapiyam. In Tulkapiyam, he identifies actually 4 ecosystems. Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam, Neidal, only 4. Palai, if the land which doesn't fit in this 4, it becomes Palai. That's what he wrote. So let's say for our convenience, let's take 5 ecosystems. Kurinji, we call it a forest ecosystem. Kadum, Kadai Chanda, Idamum. See there? In my first lesson I taught you the kingdom of Monera, Protista, fungi, plants and animals and their environment. See there? And their environment. I was insisting on their environment, and their environment, and their environment. See, Tamil grammar author Tulkapier, how nicely he wrote. He wrote Kurinji. Kurinji என்பது என்னது? காடும் காடை சார்ந்த இடமும், environment. Okay? Sorry. Kurinji means இது என்னது? Mountainous area. Kurinji means மலையும் மலையை சார்ந்த இடமும். முல்லை காடும் காடை சார்ந்த இடமும். மருதம் வயலும் வயலை சார்ந்த இடமும். நெய்தல் கடலும் கடலை சார்ந்த இடமும். பாலை மணலும் மணலை சார்ந்த இடமும். Wow! How smart our Sangam authors were. Just today we are learning everything, but at that time they wrote it with ease. But he forgotten one more ecosystem. That is what Jesus is writing. He is writing not only Kurinji, Mullai, Marudam, Neidal, Palai. The 6th ecosystem is Manidam. human. Human itself is an ecosystem. It is known as human ecology. Today, that subject is being discussed very often. Even Pope Francis, in many places in Laudato Si, he talks about human ecology. You know, Pope Benedict XVI, he was very much in love with human ecology concept. In Caritas, in Veritate, in that encyclical, he develops that theme in many places in the encyclical. It's a lovely word. Today, when you go home, this is your homework. Human ecology. Actually, Jesus was the first one to identify that human is also an ecosystem. Sixth ecosystem. You know, all this ecosystem contain resources. Mountains contain resources, forests, oceans, and desert also contain resources. So human ecosystem also contain resources. Yesterday I told what kind of resources you have. You have empathy, mercy, compassion, sharing, and love, hope, and charity, and values, and morals, and ethics. We can add everything. So today you just, during the break, after this first lesson, first period and second period, you just enlist what kind of resources you have within you. What kind of resources you have at best. Some people are very, very forgiving or sharing or being kind to others or patient to others. See, there are a lot of resources you have. So identify what kind of resources you have. And also you can have a discussion among yourself. You are only a small group. Just about human ecology. What kind of resources we have. So it may be like a quest for liberation, theology, liberating animals, maybe conserving some plants, some seeds, or fighting for justice, or fighting for animal rights, or women rights, or other human rights. So lot of things, they are known as human ecology. In other words, human resources, not only intellectual, not only spiritual, and also social. So that kind of resources you can discuss. Stop discussing about the planet Earth's resources. They are exhausted. They are finished. There's no point in discussing about them because most of the resources are lost to the planet forever. I told you 80% of the resources already exhausted to the planet. We stop here, come back.